For years, the American public has been victimized by the so-called cinematic geniuses, telling us time and again to see inferior movies, leaving us bitter and lost with nowhere to turn. But no more! This travesty of justice cannot and will not continue, because we now have the Cinema Judge!
Hello and welcome to the Cinema Judge. First and foremost, before we start the show today, I want to give a special shout out to all the people out there on the front lines, day-to-day workers, the food service people, everybody out there, from the janitors to everybody else out there who are busting your butt, putting yourself in harm's way to make our daily lives better. A personal shout out to Ranman out in California, who's a registered RN. You are just every day seeing the utmost insane things, but yet going in every day and just doing the best you can to make our lives better. And to Bing, who is an EMT, thank you for every day doing what you do, working constantly, never knowing what you're going to do, but yet you do it every day. We thank you, and I'm so proud of both of you. Now, approaching the bench today, we have the movie Unhinged. It stars Russell Crowe. Now, obviously, we all know who Russell Crowe is. And you might first think, why would he take this kind of movie? I mean, look at his whole legacy of films. He's done stuff before what I'm going to say here now. But like in 92, Romper Stomper. And then after that, The Quick and the Dead. And then a very, very fun film that I remember seeing in the theater, and it was just so enjoyable, Mystery Alaska. And then, of course, his grand epic film, Gladiator. That was in 2000. That was just, from that point on, it just propelled him into a stratosphere of awesomeness. Well-deserved awesomeness, but awesomeness nonetheless. So from that, eventually he went into A Beautiful Mind. Just what a fantastic movie. Then Master and Commander, Cinderella Man. He just kept racking out these hits one after another. Just proving how awesome of an actor he is. And he can do anything he wants. I mean, he is so gifted. And the talent is just amazing. So then some of you might say, why would he take this kind of movie? Not that this movie is bad or anything like that, but generally speaking, when this kind of movie comes out, some people might say it might be a B movie or a step down. But in this next interview, he explains why he took this role and almost why he didn't take this role. Because sometimes we all get stuck in our own head. Our own ego gets in the way because, hey, I've done, Master Commander, I've done Gladiator. But still trying to study this character of rage and just being totally cold and distant from the entire world. And that's an important thing. I'm glad he realized that, hey, just because, yes, I've made some great films, magnificent films, but I still need to tell stories. I still need to have characters that I can be challenging me. Because after a while, if you get in the same cookie cutter role over and over and over again, it just becomes like you're walking through it. There's no emotion. This movie, I think for him, he realized, wow, I could finally go dark. And not just be a strong character like in Gladiator, I'll get angry, then I'll do my thing. But in this movie, he's just flat out just a lost guy, and it's just his rage and his blind anger taking over. So anyway, here he is talking about that initial gut feeling of, I can't do this, but then how he kind of evolved it into thinking, hey, I need to take this. So here is Russell Crowe, who is aptly named The Man.
When I read it, my first response, my instinctive response was, absolutely not. I'm not doing this movie. I heard that come out of my mouth and I was like, since when did I stop doing that? Because that's basically what I look for. I look for the challenges that I don't think I can accomplish, the Beautiful Minds or the Master and Commanders or whatever, with the violin. And then I I just started to think about it from a different place. Because one thing I did know is that when I read it, it was a page turner.
Up next, we have Russell Crowe talking about how relevant this character in the whole situation is very viable to how things are today for a lot of people.
How it connects to where we are right now, where we are in terms of a seeming inability of people from different perspectives to have a polite conversation with each other.
Coming up next, we have Russell Crowe talking a little bit more about his character and how he has really nothing to lose, but also they don't really say too much about the character in the movie. They give little sprinkles, but they don't give a whole massive background on this character.
Well, it's a strange thing with this character because we don't really discuss his past. We just give a little indication that at the beginning of the movie that he's involved in something kind of horrific. Because he's already triggered. And it doesn't really matter that it happens to be Rachel, and it doesn't really matter, in a way, what she says or what she does. He's already over the line. She just yells at the wrong dude on the wrong day, you know? And he doesn't care about the consequences because he's already crossed the line. He's no longer capable of any level of humanity. He's stepped away from that.
Up next, we have a little bit more from Russell Crowe talking about his character, about how he's detached himself from reality and how he's just blind and just angry. You know, and even though it doesn't make any sense or it's unrealistic, so much of this film is very realistic because so many of us have seen this happen to somebody or have witnessed it happen. It's also out of nowhere, somebody becomes unhinged, and it's just terrifying to watch, and you can't do anything about it. It doesn't make any sense, but it happens. So here he is talking a little bit more about that.
Nothing that happens in this movie is rational. Nothing has any logic. Doesn't have any true reason. It's just somebody whose own humanity, in a way, is drained by their experience of life. And that's where we get to. He's looking for some kind of balance, some kind of indicator from other people that he's not invisible, that he has some kind of worth.
Coming up next, we have Russell Crowe, who plays the man, talking about what drove him more about this character. These are the kind of interviews I love, because a lot of times you want to know, okay, when you get the script, what were you thinking? What challenges you? And in this role, for me, it sounds like he read it and he said, I can't relate to this guy at all. I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know. I can't bring anything of me to this role. Because a lot of actors, they go, okay, I know what to bring to this role. I could relate to this guy. But I think the challenge for him was, I don't know where this guy's coming from. I don't understand him one bit. So this is why sometimes I love when you talk to these actors or when you hear interviews from them, why they keep doing what they're doing and what challenges them to take on a role that you wouldn't expect them to take. Because a lot of actors wouldn't take this role. They would say, no, I'm not going to play a bad guy. That's a bad image. You know, it's just not my thing. But I think sometimes it says, I got to take this role because I don't know this person, but I want to find out about this person. I want to try to be this person. So here he is, Russell Crowe, who plays the man, talking about that big challenge of what can I bring to this character and how do I bring myself to this character?
This is a different kind of challenge. I got nothing. I got nothing reasonable, nothing logical, you know, and I can't use my sense of humor. I can't use my own humanity. I've got to close all of that down in order to show a person like this.
But in the end, sometimes it's very simple. Nobody thinks I should take this role. So here is Russell Crowe, the man, saying something about that.
And it just felt like the most unlikely thing that I should be doing. So that's why I did it.
Coming up next, we have Derrick Borte, the director of Unhinged. He's also directed the movie London Town and American Dreamer. Here he is talking about working with Russell Crowe and how brilliant he is. So here's the director of Unhinged, Derrick Borte.
I had no idea what to expect working with Russell. all that I found from the very beginning was someone who was incredibly intelligent, very engaged, and just wanted to make the movie as good as it could be. Kind of going through every word of the script and making sure that it felt authentic to the material. And he has amazing ideas, and I don't think I've ever worked with anyone who is as acutely aware of what every single person on set is either doing or is supposed to be doing. He really is great at talking to anyone and everyone on set and helping them really be the best at their job that they can be.
Coming up next, we have Russell Crowe talking a little bit more about his character and how he had to dig deep in finding the voice of this character. And these are the kind of interviews I just love. Whenever you hear an actor, when they take on a role, what challenges them to take this project. And for him, I love hearing how he has to really want to dig and find this guy and just make it as authentic as he can. So anyway, here he is talking a little bit more about that process.
That question, how am I going to do that? That's one of the most exciting places you can be as an actor in cinema. How the am I going to do that, you know? And, so it's been really healthy, more than healthy. It's been really great.
Up next, we have the director of this film, Derrick, Borte, talking about when he first received the script, how excited he was, and what really motivated him to want to make this film. See, now, these are the kind of TV shows I would love to see about real-life directors, actors, whomever, when they receive a script, of watching them read it and seeing their initial reaction to it, and then them implementing that into a film. For me, that's the kind of TV show I like to see. Like, I always see these Real Housewives of this, or Bachelor, Bachelorette, all these other programs that deal with that kind of stuff. This is what would entice me to watch reality TV. When a director or actor receives a script and then they open up for the first time, and then you see them read it, that opening page, and then turning those pages one after the other and seeing how it makes them feel and what drives them to make a movie. So anyway, this is a long explanation of kind of a short interview from the director talking about when he first received the script.
It was just one of those scripts that you just kind of pick it up and can't put it down until you get all the way through it.
Coming up next, we have the director of this film talking more about the character, the man, played by Russell Crowe.
When you ask if the man has anything to lose, I would say that to him, he's already lost it. He's lost, on a personal level, he's lost it from losing his family. On an ideological level, he's lost it in that all the institutions that he believed in have failed him. So from his perspective, he has nothing to lose.
Coming up next, we have the director talking about the character Rachel, who's played by Caren Pistorius in his film Unhinged.
Yeah, Rachel's going through a tough time herself. She's kind of become the caregiver for her aging mother, for her younger brother and his girlfriend that are living here at the house. And her own son. She's kind of both parents to her son as a single mother, with an ex that's kind of less than ideal in terms of fulfilling his responsibilities as a father.
Coming up next, we have Russell Crowe, who plays the man in the film Unhinged, talking about the woman who plays Rachel, Caren Pistorius, talking about how great she was for this role.
But there was just something about her that kind of lent into that combined vulnerability and strength of a Nicole Kidman or a Meryl Streep. There was just some depth in her eyes that, both of us, we just had the same thought at the same time. When she left the room, he just turned around and Derrick, the director, and he just said, "It's her, right?" And I agree with it.
Coming up next, we have the producer from the film Unhinged, Lisa Elzey, talking about when she knew she was the right one for this role.
And we found her. She was in Sydney, and she came over here, and she read with Russell in a room, the two of them, she was incredible. She's made movies before, but I feel like seeing her with Russell in this part is just a really exciting discovery.
Coming up next, we have Caren Pistorius, who plays Rachel in this film, Unhinged. She's the woman that gets hunted down, chased, and just totally out of control attacked by the man who's played by Russell Crowe. So here she is talking a little bit more about her character and her son and just the whole process.
I think for Rachel, she's carrying a lot on her shoulders. You know, she's a single mother, she's just recently divorced. And so when this moment happens on the road, everything's just heightened to another level. But through that, I think she learns a lot about herself, and her bond with her son is also definitely strengthened as well. I don't think she thinks she's a good mother, and I don't know that many mothers think that they're good mothers. I think Rachel does live with a lot of regret because she doesn't have a lot of time.
Coming up next, we have her talking about what she thinks the man represents.
The man represents, I think, the anger that we hold as a society, and how it's perhaps that anger is not dealt with properly, and then, you know, the road is like this place where it sort of culminates, and the storm can kind of be built up and it sort of explodes.
Coming up next, we have Caren talking a little bit more about how this movie is relatable to almost everybody.
Road rage, you know, it doesn't discriminate. The story will travel across the world, you know, because everybody will be able to relate and have a story. It would be so easy to judge the man in this film and Rachel, but they both separately have their kind of worlds falling apart in different ways. And I hope that this film sort of highlights that.
Coming up next, we have her talking about the director.
Again, like, Derrick has just been so great from the beginning. He's all about collaborating and just wanting to know what is best for us.
Coming up next, we have Jimmi Simpson, who plays Andy. You've seen him in other shows like Westworld, in Perpetual Grace, in the TV show Hap and Leonard. So here he is talking about what he thought when he first got the script.
My initial thoughts were it was a thrill ride, and it was also certainly pertinent to the state of the nation, to the state of a lot of countries, in that people are losing their shit a lot, and here's a reflection in the form of a kick-ass thriller. So I was interested right away, and then the director and the cast were really impeccable, so I jumped on. Well, Andy is the lawyer of our lead character, Rachel, and he's trying to give her some help. He's a friend. He's also, like I said, a lawyer, and so he's giving her some free legal advice as she goes through a hard time in her life, and he gets swallowed up into this whirlpool of Rachel's road rage incident. I'd say the first clue that Andy has that the man is not all he's cracked up to be is the man swearing in the middle of a diner at his dear friend on the cell phone, and then smashing him in the face with a coffee mug. Then he's sure that there's something wrong with him. He's pretty damn sure. You know, it takes a good, awesome movie sometimes to be this kind of mirror reflection of what we're doing, and then you see it kind of in times 1,000, and you're like, oh, I do little bits of that. I want to stop from going all the way off the rails, you know? So, yeah, it's a little wake-up call.
Coming up next, we have one of the producers talking about the script and a little bit more about Russell Crowe, who plays the man.
I mean, the great thing about this script is that I started reading it, didn't stop, couldn't put it down, straight through. Everyone knows what it's like to have a horrible day, and then to find that there's another guy in a car next to you who's having an even worse day, and see where that goes. I think that Rachel showed up in his life at the exact wrong time, and he showed up in her life at the exact wrong time, and those two things were combustible. And he chooses to dismantle her life because he can't fix his own. Sure. I mean, I feel so incredibly lucky that we have Russell playing the man. I mean, there's no one better to do this. We've seen him do so many different kinds of parts, but to be kind of a homicidal maniac is so much fun. And yet at the same time, he's created this incredibly detailed and deep character underneath it. So I'm very grateful, and I sit sometimes in stunned amazement watching the performance that he gives. I think it's thought-provoking, and it's scary, and it's intense, and I want people to talk about it afterwards.
Coming up next, we have the director talking about what he hopes will come from this film.
I think that, there are a lot of angry people out there where people can't have disagreements and actually talk about them in some way that remains civil and productive. The rage that's out there in the world these days. So the film is a great reflection of that. Hopefully it starts a conversation. I think that's really what the best any film can do.
We hope you enjoyed our in-depth look at Unhinged, starring Russell Crowe. Now, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, ways to improve the show, please feel free to let me know. cinemajudge@hotmail.com. Now, I want to thank so many people who've dropped me a line, said hello, gave me feedback. I appreciate constructive feedback. What you like, what you don't like, whatever you think. But seriously, all the people who've listened to the show, taken time out of your busy lives with all the stuff going on in the world, all the thousands of different shows you could listen to, and you take time to listen to this. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. From people from Italy, Ukraine, Canada, Denmark, France, India, New Zealand, Mongolia. I mean, my goodness, thank you so much. Poland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, San Francisco, Farmington Hills, Michigan, Florida, France, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, Middletown, New York, Hawaii, Denver, Colorado, Texas, Nebraska, Michigan, Georgia, Ohio. Thank you so much. Dallas, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, more from Florida. I mean, I am very, very honored that you take your time out of your life. Atlanta, Georgia, Milton, Georgia, California, Vermont, New York, Idaho, Virginia, New Jersey, Duluth, Georgia. Thank you very much. Fort Wayne, Indiana, Fort Myers, Florida, Nevada, Illinois, Quebec. And to all the other people I didn't mention, I thank you very, very much. And feel free. And if you do like the show, please tell a friend. Pass it on. I would love to see more people listen or hear from other people. So again, if you do like the show, let a friend know. Thank you all. Again, any thoughts, ideas, ways to improve the show, things you want to hear, please let me know. Again, thank you very much for your time. I'm Jeff. Thanks for listening to The Cinema Judge.